a while ago, we made a video where we talked about why we play D&D, and I wasn't really happy with the audio for it and the video for it. So rather than remake the wheel, I thought we'd try something a little bit different. This video might be a two-parter, but we're going to talk about since I have my fellow wizards with me in our little doomed wizard society. I thought we'd talk about our experiences with D&D through the years. Some of us have been playing it a lot longer than others on account of their the elder
Advanced age,
statesmen.
yes.
Yeah, their advanced age. Not to put too fine a point on it, but Mike, you want to start?
Well, yeah, God, I don't remember how old I was, but it must have been when I was still in elementary school. I feel like in the fifth or sixth grade.
Mm-hmm.
My brother came home with the original basic set.
Mm-hmm.
The one, not this one.
The one that's missing from the table.
Yeah,
Right.
the one that I could have brought and shown everybody. That was the first one I ever played.
Well, how much different was that original basic book as opposed to the one that came out afterwards when they had what we call the BX editions?
It was quite a bit different. I think it had a lot. It was more like the original edition of D&D. The white actually was originally like a wood tone, wood grain box.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was just called Dungeons and Dragons. There was no basic set, no advanced, or it was just what they call the zero edition. I guess.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I did actually buy that set later, but it was like the last printing of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then later in life, I stupidly sold it.
We all make mistakes.
Yeah,
we all make mistakes.
but so I had never actually played the OD&D.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of had it because I liked to collect stuff, and
Yeah.
I remember finding like we'd always go to my grandpa Jonathan's house up in Wisconsin,
Mm-hmm.
and somehow when we would be spending time shopping and it was near Hayward, Wisconsin,
Mm-hmm.
I would find those supplements like the Blackmore and Greyhawk.
Mm-hmm.
So I had all the supplements, and then I found that original D&D set for sale, and what was that catalog? Judges Guild.
Oh, okay.
Judges Guild catalog.
Mm-hmm.
And so I ordered that. So I had all the OD&D stuff, and then at some point, I was hard up for cash, and I sold it. I got $100 for it for the original set plus all the supplements.
Oh wow!
Now I could probably sell that for
Yeah, well, the individual books go for close to that I've seen. So, yeah.
Plasma Alliance was probably open back then.
And donated plasma.
That might have been a better idea.
You can always make more plasma.
Correct.
Yeah, so I wish I didn't do that, but I managed to collect most of the supplements back.
Mm-hmm.
They're all in really bad condition, but the only one I don't have is the 3 original books. I have copies of them, not the actual original books. So, poor me. But that first game, my dad DM'd it.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
And it was so much fun.
I couldn't imagine my dad
Yeah.
having fun, let alone running a game.
And we made our characters. I think we were both fighters.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad just let us do whatever.
Yeah.
I think we had a hireling that was a centaur and stuff. And yeah. But yeah, it was so much fun. And my dad, yeah, he was a creative guy. He
Mm-hmm.
put in some of his own stuff.
Well, didn't you say like he ran this great game and then just walked away from
Yeah.
it? Like, this is it. I'm done. I'm going out on a high note.
hmm Yeah, that was the only time you ever played.
Hmm.
He just DM'd that one game,
Hmm.
and it was that one. I don't remember the name of that scenario, but it was the one where you had to put in the monsters and treasure in each room. It was um, I don't remember what it was called, but
If anybody out there knows what he's talking about, let us know down below. I'm curious myself.
yeah, it's one of the first what do they call those modules,
Module.
and it had each room had a blank, where you could put the monster and the treasure,
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
and it was supposed to be like the stronghold of Rogan and Zelagar. They were like a fighter and a wizard,
Hmm.
and you go in there. It was basically, a funhouse dungeon. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I ever played that.
And there were rooms that had pools. There were different kinds of. They had different kinds of effects if you drank from the pools.
Oh, neat.
And
Back when anything goes.
yeah,
Yeah. One of the things that I've noticed is we spend so much time like making stuff logically
hmm
makes sense in the context of the game, but not these guys. Let's put a glowing pool in this room. Why? Why not?
yeah,
And then we're playing that
Mhm.
as kids, not caring,
right.
Right.
you know?
Right.
And that's something that I've been trying to do more with my games is just put
Mhm.
random fun stuff in there to kind of recapture
Yeah,
that feeling of those old adventures and those old editions.
yeah. That's how my early D&D career was. It was mostly just like those fun houses, where it made no sense.
Mm-hmm.
There was a troll in one room, and then you go to the next room, and there's a Medusa.
Right.
It's like an apartment complex for
Right.
monsters.
Yeah. It got to the point where it's just like, okay, you go into a room, and there's a woman wearing a hooded cloak, and they knew right away it was
Ah.
Medusa. So
We back out of the room slowly,
Yeah.
close the door.
and yeah, there were some things we just kind of overdid.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like my high school experience, junior high and high school. It was mostly that, and then switching to other, like my brother bought RuneQuest and some other games,
Mm-hmm.
Call of Cthulhu. It was mostly because we had a mutual friend who was a Jehovah's Witness, and his dad looked through the monster manual, saw
Uh-huh.
those demons, and said,
Mhm.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
Yeah. That's the same. A very similar thing happened to me,
Mhm.
which is why we switched from. At that time, we were playing. We were into advanced.
Mhm.
But one of my favorite players, his parents were like super religious, um, and found out he was playing D&D, and of course that was during the height of the
Mhm.
Satanic Panic. And I've talked about this on a couple episodes, but I knew he read comics,
Mhm.
so I called him up one day, and I'm like, because I didn't want to lose him.
Mhm.
That's what it boiled
Yeah.
down to. He was a good player. And I said, what do you folks think about superheroes? Like, what if I got a superhero game? Would you play it? And I could literally hear him like, Mom,
Mhm.
she says it's okay. So I hightailed it to in the town. I went to the hobby store and I found Villains and Vigilantes on sale for like $12.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I had $12 burning a hole in my pocket. Yanked it off the shelf. Didn't even read anything about it. Got home but that's how I kept my super religious player
Mhm.
in the game.
We lost two people that way,
Hmm.
and this was as adults. So this would have been in the early 2000s when we were playing. We had a huge group in the early 2000s. There was like 15 people playing, and one of our people like quit coming, and we didn't know why.
Mhm.
And he had become religious. He met some girl and
Oh.
became Christian, and decided that
That'll do it.
D&D. But we're talking even as late as 2001 or 2,
Hmm.
people were still, it's satanic, so therefore I can't play.
Right.
So we
right.
we lost a good player to that.
Yeah.
So
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit, Mark, about
yeah,
your early D&D days?
I kind of mix it all up in my head. My young kid memories are kind of blurred, but
Yeah.
I know for sure the very first time we weren't as kids. So we had a dad across the street who played games with us all the time, but it was always board games, and they
Hmm.
were the Avalon Hill games.
Hmm.
So we were like, as a young kid, I was playing Avalon Hill all the time, and so I didn't get to meet D&D till sixth grade, I think.
Mm.
And it was at my friend Eric's house, and he had the basic set. And so we were playing the basic box, and I rolled up like an elf because that was a character and class at the time.
You probably read Tolkien by then.
I had, yeah. So
yeah.
I had read, yeah. So yeah, I had read Tolkien by then, and he actually had uh early miniatures, and I remember he had boxes that looked like dungeons, and he had stone walls. I mean,
Mhm.
this kid had a lot of
Yeah.
money, and or at least he spent his money wisely.
Yes, he
And
spent his money
and
wisely.
so and bought it while I was buying stereo equipment for no reason. And so, but I think the game lasted all of 20 minutes, and I was dead within like 3 rounds. So I think I died in the first room. And so that was, I played with him for a while as for basic.
Mhm.
And then I think my next experience would have been when I got to junior high, Satanic Panic,
Mhm.
went to a Catholic school, no D&D club,
Oof.
no kids played D&D. Nobody, that was taboo. So I kind of had a year of basic D&D, and then by the time I came back, it would have been ninth grade, and that was this first
Advanced,
edition,
yeah.
or advanced. And so,
We all know
yes,
it. We all
yes,
know it. Got the ink stain on the
Yeah.
back when my pen exploded on it.
and so that was we had an older guy that we hung out. So my best friend, a friend of ours in high school, we played at this guy Dave's house, and Dave was a couple years older than us,
Mhm.
and he had all the books. And so, but he and this guy John had been playing since grade school.
Mhm.
So their characters were like 20th level. So
Oh,
they
yeah.
were like NPCs that ruled the land that we
Mhm.
adventured in.
Mhm.
So their 20th, they had like these 20th level characters who ruled the land, and then my best friend and I, we played. Then they played new characters, but we used to play. That was back in the day when we would be there all weekend. I mean, we would camp out. He had a big pool table in his basement that we laid out all of our gaming stuff, and you
Mhm.
could keep your dice in the pockets because you had the pockets with the netting, so you kept your dice in the pockets. And so we would play. Friday night, we'd get there all night, all day Saturday, all night Saturday, and then
Wow.
go home and sleep Sunday. We were all DMs. We all took turns, but we all shared the same party. So like,
Yeah, we did that.
Yeah, we did that,
early on.
but we kind of Dave got like very when his character was an NPC in somebody else's game,
Mhm.
or I mean his game, he got very overprotective of his character.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden in his own game, the NPC would be getting stuff, treasures and stuff. And so one time we got in an argument with his character who was an NPC, and we ended up shooting him in the back in his own game, and there's nothing he could do about it. So I believe I believe our character sheets ended up in his fireplace.
Yeah.
It was a huge fight.
Yeah.
And so, but
That
in
does
retrospect, but I mean, Dave was he put us through. He spent his money wisely too. So we had like Secrets of the Salt Marsh. We went through the whole U series.
Mhm.
I think we always did the actual modules. So
Oh, okay.
we went through. I mean, all the old original modules. I think I played at his house.
Mhm.
I did have one other group of people I played with. There was a kid up the street. We played in his basement, and we ended up doing what's the module with the black sword, the razor.
Yeah, the one that's loosely based on loosely camouflaged as Stormbringer.
Yeah. I played that game with him, and then we did one. It was really cool. He did a whole Aztec game, which I think was a module series.
There was some Aztec.
Yeah. Because I remember like fighting a guy that had Quetzalcoatl, outfit on,
Mhm.
and so that was fun. I played a couple weekends here and there with those guys,
Mhm.
but for the most part, through high school, it was 4 or 5 of us playing, and then that we. I mean, I typically made up my own games. This guy named John did his. Dave did all the modules. My best friend bought the Dragonlance modules when it was before the books came out.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've tried playing the modules. I mean, we did all the classic modules. So
Yeah.
I'm glad I got to do that. I mean, he bought them. We were playing them right when they came out.
Yeah,
throughout high school.
I had no idea because Mark and I have known each other since high school. I had no idea you played anything until afterwards.
Correct.
When I wrangled you into our group,
and then D&D died for us when we hit senior year. John moved to Michigan. Dave went to Purdue. Todd went to the Naval Academy, and I went to college. So the group died. Then we all just went our separate ways.
I think that's a common occurrence.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that your first game probably lasted 20 minutes and you died.
Yeah.
The idea behind jumping ahead a little bit, one of the mechanics of 5th edition is the death saves and how you can make like 11 of them or something crazy. Kidding, there's I think it's 3. Because the fear is the producer's fear is it's gonna if a character dies, it's gonna turn them away from it.
No.
But all of us who have been playing for decades know full well that's not real. It just makes you want to do it again.
I've had plenty of people who loved a character they had who died, and then suddenly it was his brother who came. They just erased the name, changed the name.
Right.
Suddenly it was their brother, or I mean, all of my favorite D&D stories are people that died. I mean,
there's the spectacular deaths.
Yeah, there's the guy I made who was based off Tom Baker's character in the Sinbad movies, even with a monkey on his shoulder. And I hadn't worked that hard on a character in a long time. I had a drawing of him. I mean, I sat, because I have the Sinbad movie. And he debuts in the game. About 3 rounds later, my nephew, we're in water, it gets flooded, and we're being attacked by snakes in the water, and my nephew does a lightning bolt and murders my freshly created character. He had been alive for 5 minutes in the game and he was dead. And so I think I've had, and I know in my current game, I think I have the record for the most character deaths. So yeah, it forces you to be more creative and move. You move on. There's been characters who've come back alive because we like them so much. We find a way to bring them back. It's the deaths that always stick out to me. The funny deaths, or
spectacular deaths, and flying by the skin of your teeth, surviving by the skin of your teeth are the stories we tell to this day that happened to us 30 years ago.
Yeah.
Speaking of dying, famously, my Doomed Wizard was the very first character I ever created. It's what I named the channel after. He didn't last one encounter. I got killed by a pixie. The pixie pops up. I used my magic missile on it because that's the spell because our DMs made our characters based on what we wanted. He would go make the characters.
Oh, okay.
That way we wouldn't have to learn all the rules.
Okay.
Which is why to this day I teach people by just giving what do you do, and then I'll tell you what to roll. So getting a little ahead of myself, my friend Rich, him and some other buddies they were talking about this game, and I wanted to play it. I had to play it, and they were playing it all summer. So I just started 8th grade. He asked me what I wanted to play. I said, I want to cast spells. I want to be a magic user. He's like, no, you don't. Well, yes, because I want to cast spells. Okay. Makes us magic user. Magic user didn't even have a name. Like I said, he died in his first encounter.
Wow.
And I just called him the poor old Doomed Wizard, and that's where this comes from. But we played all through 8th grade. It was funny. We were playing the basic and expert. Christmas rolls around. I got the basic set for Christmas. Came back from Christmas break. They were playing advanced D&D, and they're like, "Well, I guess you can play with us. It's the same game,
right?
I guess you can play with us, but you're playing the old version." But somehow my characters from basic and expert could just ease into advanced, so it's the same game. It's one of the lures of
Mhm.
D&D is the fact that you can just evolve them as the game systems evolve.
Mhm.
So we
Until you
play-
hit about here.
yeah, yeah.
Then it-
Once you get past AD&D or second edition, it gets a little weird. So yeah, we then our party broke up due to because there's always internal strife
Yeah.
in a group of kids. So we formed two different parties, and like me and my group used to get picked on by the group that I used to be in, and I voluntarily walked away from that group because I don't want to play with people that are being jerks.
Mhm.
They would mock us all the time, but as Steve pointed out, he's like they made fun of us because we were having fun. If you'd walk by their door, because this was back, we could play in school.
Lucky.
Yeah, well, we would wander the halls looking for a teacher that would let us, and then eventually they were like, "All right, fine, you can play in this room." So they would just get a teacher to chaperone each lunch, and you know they'd walk by our door and they'd hear us in there just laughing and carrying on, and we'd walk by their doors like on the way to the bathroom, and they'd all be like super serious, like, "Are you even having fun?" You know, we were doing crazy things. Like we were playing Smurfs. You know, we were just having all kinds of fun, and they were just everything had to be by the rule. The rule right here. You know, no, and if we didn't have the rule, couldn't find the rule, we made the rule up. I think this is a good place to stop. We kind of covered our experiences with the early years of D&D. If you want, down below, let us know some of your earliest experiences. I read all my comments and respond to most of them, and I love hearing from you guys. While you're down there, if you want to join the Doomed Wizard Society, there's a link in the description that'll take you to a printable copy of the certificate. Sign your name on that, and Bob's your uncle.